Hi, I'm Larry Horist, and so there it is. You'll have to excuse me. I was seeing if the sky was falling. Um, the reason I was looking is I watched the debates, and the one thing I noticed on the debate is everybody was talking about climate change. And the thing about it was, I thought the extremity of it. Now, I will tell you, I go and I listen to all sides of things, and I sort of make my judgment based on what I think is the best facts. And I was recently at a conference of a number of people who were, I would say, skeptics of some of the current description of global warming and its potential or anything like that. The two things I was struck about, one was the high quality of these people's credentials. These were scores of people with a whole bunch of letters after the name, academic degrees, experiences with NASA, experiences with NOAA, the National Oceanic, all those people. And they had some pretty interesting arguments about causes and what's going on. But the thing that struck me was that most people who are skeptical, if you will, are said to be deniers in global warming, and global warming is a fact. What struck me at this conference was that every one of these speakers, who are identifies as skeptics, were in fact saying that global warming has and is occurring. So this great debate is over a straw man argument. Scientists, so I'm inclined to believe, and I have for a while, that the Earth is warming. But there's two other levels to the argument. The one is how much mankind causes it. Now there, I see a lot more information suggesting that mankind is more limited in our ability to affect the carbon dioxide releases and everything. Certainly, we're doing a lot of it. I mean, there's a whole lot of us on the planet that weren't here a lot of years ago, and we're producing and we're doing all kinds of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, we only account for a very, very, very small percentage of it. And that seems to be pretty clear with scientists. Then the third level is, can we materially affect whatever the climate is doing, whatever the Earth is doing? Can we materially affect it by any of these programs cutting down emissions? And where we can, cutting down emissions may be a good idea, not a bad idea. But how far do we want to go? Can we go for results that may not exist? Now, they say it's existential. And another thing I notice is that the time frame's getting closer. The greatest scientists a year or so ago, the smartest scientists, so to speak, said 20 years, 30 years, we're going to have a problem. Now, the smartest scientists, supposedly, say it's 10 years. And the politicians now have taken this, say, well, we got a problem in 10 years. It might not be reversible. And then you get guys like Governor Inslee of Washington State, who is talking about the end of humanity. The end of humanity. It is an existential threat, a threat to our existence as human beings, as life on the planet. It's going to turn our planet into a barren rock like the moon, they think. Now, most scientists on both sides don't buy the political answer. But we do know the Earth operates in cycles. It is possible that we are ending a warming cycle and we'll be going into a cooling cycle. The one candidate who I thought probably had the smartest answer was Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang said, in a sense, it's too late to do anything about it, which is another way of saying there's nothing we can do about it. So we should move to high ground. So he's saying that as water levels rise, people who live in Venice or people who live in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, near where I live, might want to consider not buying that home on the beach, if they at least if they want it for more than 10 or 20 years. Now, there's no certainty what's going to happen. I mean, there's no certainty at all. But the fact of the matter is, Andrew Yang may be right that we aren't in a position to do much. And if we want to drop our carbon emissions by whatever major, what kind of lifestyle are we going to have? I mean, in Washington, people like Alexandria Cortez is saying, we should do without airplanes. We should do without cars, unless they're electric cars. And of course, we can't have that electricity powered by our vast and rich resources of coal and fuel. No, we got to have, I don't know where we're going to get the energy for that out of, cover the entire state of Missouri with solar panels paid for by the government. I don't know. So I see a lot of rhetoric about this. Now, I always said that I'm sort of a climate change agnostic. And the reason I say that is I'm not a scientist. And when I read the scientific literature, I get some pretty good information from both sides. And I'm inclined to think, based on my experience in the past, when I have seen the scientific community predict that we would be starving and we would be out of food in the 1960s because of population growth. That didn't happen. I actually worked at the White House when we had serious meetings in the scientific community. The American Fuel Institute and all the others would sit there and say, we're going to be out of fossil fuel by 1995. Think about that. The smart guys, the scientific community, we're going to be out of fossil fuel, and now we have more than ever. So there's a part of my being around for a while that says, I'm just not so sure all these smart people are that smart. Maybe there's a few flat earth people trying to peddle that story to us today for those grants and all the money that's driving so much of this opinion. And that scares me too. So I don't know if you're like me. Maybe you are a believer that the earth is going to go to hell. Maybe you are a skeptic, or maybe you're an agnostic. But I'll tell you, this issue does not play well in the public arena, as both sides take extremes that are not scientifically based, and they refuse to consider any information that does not fit their scenarios. So we're stuck with it, but I'm going to tell you, I'll make a prediction. This world, humanity, isn't going to end in 10 years. And frankly, I don't think you're even going to notice much of a difference. So there it is.